Okay, so the story of Faust, I believe it's an opera, but it's a classic story that goes back hundreds of years. So, anyway, the story of Faust is about making a deal with the devil. I don't remember the whole thing, but basically, this means selling your soul in a contract in exchange for something else, such as fame and fortune, etc. So, that is exactly what Robert Johnson is accused of doing. That's a symbolism of going down to the crossroads, because the crossroads is an in between area, like Halloween is in between summer and winter. Sort of like other occult times, like dawn and dusk, are in between night and day. And so they work their rituals during those times as well for special reasons. So the reason behind that is, in my personal opinion, is because that's where both sides kind of meet. It's sort of like like in World War One, where they had a trench warfare, and they had these huge lines dug out between both armies, between the Allied forces and the Axis powers, where they were. It was just brutal, and in between both of them, they would have barbed wire and this, that, and the other thing, and so that's where both forces met. And I believe that's a bit like how the world is, where both forces meet in the oddest places, and that division line is that's where stuff like this happens. That's where I guess where a deal could be made. So, in any event, Ron is convinced that Trump is the Antichrist. I think Trump is more than likely to be someone who leads people to the Antichrist. Kind of like John the Baptist, but in a dark way. But Ron may very well be right, and I definitely might be wrong. Um, so the one thing that I noticed lately, because it's a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine, but I like watching movies. But I always keep one eye open so I can analyze them in this regard. And so I was watching this movie called Ghost Rider, about this motorcycle demon thing that got its powers from hell. And Nicolas Cage was in it, which is really made it evil because he's such a terrible actor. But nonetheless, I watched the movie, and in the movie, they were describing, I believe, it was the devil on Earth in earthly form. And according to the movie, the devil was weak when he's in earthly form because he couldn't allow all his powers to go through or something. I forget. But that's not the part that intrigued me. The part that intrigued me was that they said that the devil, because he's in that weakened form, he has to use what powers he can use, which is the art of making the deal. Kind of like when you sign a contract, like with the devil, that's making a deal. And that made me think about Trump. So, in Ron's defense, the one thing that stood out to me is that Trump did write the book on the art of the deal, of making the deal. That's what he's known for. He's the master of making deals. So I think that's kind of interesting. And so I don't know what that means. So I'm still not convinced that Trump is the Antichrist, but he very well may be. I might be wrong. I don't know. But I just thought that was interesting. And so I thought I'd share that with everybody. All right. God bless everybody in Jesus' name.